Hey, one more thing before you go. What's it like to channel angels? How does it feel to reach a higher consciousness of the universe? What do you do when you have a spiritual being tell you that the new earth is coming? Do you keep it to yourself or do you share it with the world? Stay tuned. We're going to find out those answers and many more. I'm your host, Michael Herst, and this is One More Thing Before You Go. Hey, my guest in this episode is Seph Dietlin. He is a certified hypnotherapist and a stream of conscious channel who works with the angelic realm. His communication with the angels centers around the subject of the conscious shift that we're all experiencing that will bring in the new earth and how to create miracles through accessing our higher conscious states, both personally and globally. He's an expert. He teaches intuitive development through his angels and a tarot masterclass. He does personal intuitive readings and hypnotherapy and breakthrough coaching through the miracle method protocol that he developed. He is the host of two podcasts, Talk to My Angels and Earth Angels International. His organization, Earth Angels International, unites and gives a voice to others who wish to raise consciousness at this important time in human history. Just a quick note. The format on this particular show is a little bit different than what you're used to due to some technical difficulties. We had to utilize a different studio. But let's carry on and welcome to the show. Talk to My Angels and Earth Angels International. His organization, Earth Angels International, unites and gives the voice to others who wish to raise consciousness at this important time in human history. So, welcome to the show, Seth.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
This is an outstanding opportunity. I think that we can inspire some people, we can motivate people, we can educate people as to what exists out there that they may not always be listening to or watching for.
And truthfully, before it intersects our lives, we're not looking for it, watching for it, or have any context for it either. But boy, when it comes in, it lands, doesn't it?
It does, 100%. My family and I, we are 100% believe in angels. I always have. I've always had been on my shoulder, one of these shoulders. I'm not sure, maybe both. Keeping me safe when I was a cop, and watching out for me through each one of my surgeries and through life in general. So we wholeheartedly believe in angels, and I think that I'm grateful to them on a daily basis. I think everybody should take the time to be grateful for those little whispers in the ear. Make sure you turn the right way, go the right way, take the right path.
Well, they've been especially busy lately, I'll tell you. And they've been activated let's say, about 20 to 30 years ago for many people because of the shift that we're experiencing now. And of course, they knew that this was coming as part of actually having a transformational experience on a global level, which impacts us personally as well.
Mm.
But they had an opportunity to tap on the shoulder of anyone who was listening. And there were a lot that have been listening over the last 2 to 3 decades as they've talked about this shift. And it was a horribly irrelevant topic until about 2 years ago. And now you can see with what's on display in our world in global events that what they've been talking about to those of us listening to them for the last 20 to 30 years, they were right on the money. They were spot on. So they have been a lot more busy than just finding our car keys and all the other good stuff that they did before.
Turning us down the right way. Don't step there, walk over here.
Yeah, they're still doing that, but a lot more of that and a lot bigger.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you look at the world today and what's going on, and not just in the United States, but all over the world, with the climate change and with hunger and with the anger and with the wars that are showing up and everything that's starting to just compound upon each other, the negativity seems to be just growing and growing and growing, and you wake up to it every day, which is difficult.
It is, and it's taxing energetically on all of us, which is why the work that we do when we spread the message is really important because we have an opportunity to reframe what we see. Instead of seeing a world that's falling apart, we see a world that's reorganizing itself,
Mm.
because there is a pattern that's in the universe when things transform, because once everything moves to chaos, then it reorganizes again in something that's a little bit more suitable. And if you could think of the analogy of the caterpillar to the butterfly. So we're in the middle of the chaos for a reorganization. Now, there is
Mm.
a competition, shall we say, which isn't really one, of who wants to reorganize this, which team, shall we say, the one that works with the light and the one that doesn't. And I can assure you, the one that doesn't work with the light, that wants to capitalize on the chaos, maybe even the propagator of a good portion of this chaos, they're not going to get their reorganization that they want. In fact, they're setting, kind of volleying this over to the universe or to the light to actually do its reorganization. So it's all the way that it's supposed to be. But it's a great thing to have an opportunity to reframe the experience. And I would have a hard time believing it too, honestly,
Mm.
if I hadn't been talking to the angels for the last 20 years about this and knew it was coming.
It's and what a journey. And I would love to get into this. Would like to kind of unfold your life a little bit so we can understand. I mean, you channel an angel, and there's not many of us that do that. There are a very select few of individuals that I'm aware of that actually channel angels. So can we unfold your life just a little bit? Um, it's sort of like that old program. I think you're old enough to, what you said, how old you were a bit ago. You used to have that program called This Is Your Life. I don't remember who hosted it, but yeah, that's kind of what I like to do. I get to know you a little bit. Where'd you grow up?
In Southern California, I'm from Southern California.
California boy. California boy. You a surfer?
No, I'm afraid of the water,
That's okay.
but I love being near it. I'm a beach boy though, but just don't go in it.
I am 100% there with you. Trust me. It's yeah, yeah, 100%.
It's so nice to live near the water and to visit places where they have the water. I just came back from Brazil. They have a lot of water there
Well,
too.
yeah.
A lot of great beaches there.
That's very cool. Yeah, I love Maui. My wife and I go to Maui. We love Maui. We love the island. We love the culture. We love the positive energy. And when we go there, what they call it Ohana, and that's what it feels like when we're there. It refreshes us.
Right. That's the aloha spirit. Hawaii is a very spiritual place or very conscious place, and the earth is very active and alive there. And when we go there, we feel it. There's a lot of other places in the world where we can feel a similar energy,
Mm.
where the consciousness of the earth is actually speaking to us or having an exchange with us. But Hawaii is one of those places where we feel it. Iceland is another place where it's
Oh.
very active. And so is Ireland, believe it or not. So you go to these places and you feel a similar energy where the earth uh, speaks to you, comforts you, takes over. I currently live in Sedona, Arizona, and there's a bit of that going on with the vortexes there
Hmm.
too, but
Yeah.
always around the ocean. The ocean does a great job of that.
We live down the road from you, long way down the road, but a little way north. We live north of Phoenix, just a little bit north of Phoenix. Because of my old profession, I won't tell you exactly where while we're on the air, but I'll tell you. I'll tell you when we're done. Um, what were your parents like?
Very, very Christian, very strict. And my dad was a hard worker. My mom was that person who, when you encountered her and when she gave you a hug, your day and your life was changed.
Oh, well, those kind of
She's no
hugs.
longer with us, yeah, but she spoke to the angels too.
Oh, very
Only
cool.
yeah, she was afraid to let that unfold fully because she felt that it conflicted with her Catholicism. I couldn't see how, but she felt that it did somehow.
I understand that to a perspective. I grew up Catholic. I'm no longer a practicing Catholic, and I know that as I grew up Catholic, we were taught, you don't really believe in any angels except for the archangels, and I kind of sidestepped the Catholic religion for many reasons, but I understand that, which is unfortunate because as you know, it can open your eyes to so much more that's out there and so much more that we can embrace as an individual to help us move forward in life and be there for us when we need them. You have any brothers, sisters?
I'm the oldest of six.
Oldest of six. Wow.
Yeah.
So big
Yeah.
brother.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
And the favorite uncle, too.
and the favorite.
Apparently, I found out from
Uh,
all my nieces and nephews that I'm the favorite because I'm the gregarious one.
well, there you go. Yeah, I'm a middle child. I have an older sister, younger brother, but I'm still the favorite uncle. So it works. We have that in common. Now I fall that way because my sister, of course, is my sister, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Did you go to university?
I went to film school.
Film school, cool.
Yeah, so it wasn't quite a university, but I went to film school in college. So I was an actor for a little while, and I'm still a filmmaker at heart, which is, creating content still. And I would still love to go back on set. It's very fun to play a character, but you got to remember,
Mhm.
we're playing a character right now because this meat suit is not who we are at all,
Meat suit.
right? We're something so much bigger than that. But
Uh,
that's why I guess it's so fun to switch off and play different characters.
it,
I usually get the really mean characters, and I had asked why that was. And it's because people who are, let's say, evil or maniacal or whatever, they don't act maniacal. They
yeah,
act nice.
yeah,
You know, they'll cut off your head and then smile.
they're hidden.
So I was told by all these casting directors, "Oh my gosh, we could have you for play all these evil characters." I'm like, "No, I talk to angels. I can't do this."
You'll be the one that just smiles, lights it up, cuts your head off, smile, has a quick cup of tea, and leaves. Yeah, this works. Yeah, we have that in common as well. I have a, even though I was a law enforcement officer for many years, when I left there, went back to my first love, which was film and TV, and went back to school to become a filmmaker. Actually, so I love that. That's just great. I love it. I love it. Um, when did you first notice that you? I'm gonna say notice. When did you first realize that you could talk to the angels, channel angels?
Well, they came in an experience, so I could share a little bit
Mm,
about that experience. But when
please.
I was a kid, I was a loner kid, and I remember speaking to them, but I grew out of it. Like many people who can do what I can do, I grew out of it. I got programmed, let's say, by the world
Mm,
around me and told that I wasn't allowed to speak to them myself by the Catholic Church or whoever, or
yeah.
people think that you're crazy if you share with that or whatever. But I had an experience, and most spiritual awakenings, if not all, happen from a dramatic experience, a setback, something where the ego just can't continue anymore and the higher self awakens.
Mm,
And there's a very good analogy between when we have a personal awakening and when the whole entire world has an awakening. So, right now, the world is in its dark night of the soul. But when they came in as a response to a very, very difficult situation where I had a little breakdown. And when they came in, I asked for them to come in. I asked for them. I told them they weren't doing a very good job because a lot of the pieces of my life were falling
mm.
apart. And I was really yelling at them. I was really yelling at them.
I have never done that.
Haven't you?
No.
It it's okay to yell at them actually because they love us anyways, but what happens is I was yelling at them for not doing a good enough job, and I
Mm,
said, "Well, I need you to prove that you're here," and I felt something touch me, and I felt something speak to me inside. I felt this energy overcome me, and I felt peace even though I wasn't at peace, and I fell asleep, and then the next day I heard an inner dialogue, which was like, "Hello." So over time, of course, I could hear it. It didn't go away, but right away, they let me know that there was a reason that they came into my life and they inverted the situation on me. They said that they didn't come to me in response to the events that had collided or exploded in my life. They said that I had actually signed up as a soul for that collision of events so that I would call on them because we would begin to work together. And I thought, work together? Ooh, how fun.
That's yeah, unique job description.
They hadn't given me the mission yet, so I'm not sure if I would have been down if that was the case, because later they would reveal to me that I had to lose everything because I was a very successful real estate agent in Orange County, California at the time. And they told me that I
Wow.
had to lose everything in order to find my mission in this world. And I did.
Mm.
So when the real estate collapse happened in Orange County, which was where it started, 2006, 7, and 8, I got to see everything go, all the house, everything like that. So they
Complete
waited
life.
until yeah, they waited until I was quite enamored by being connected to them, and they said, "Hey, would you be willing to do this?" I'm like, "Hey, sure, no problem."
Well, I mean, yeah, like a complete life transformation. You had to reinvent your life. Yeah, I relate to that. That's what happened when I got injured and ended up with rheumatoid arthritis, and I was told to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And I was for a short period of time, and now sitting in the garage over there collecting dust. That's my way of saying it's back there. I had to reinvent my life, and because I couldn't be a cop anymore, and it brought me to podcasting, which I love absolutely, 100%. And um, I love the creativity portion of it. So you you have a very unique gift that was presented to you, I think, in a way of um, allowing you to work with them like that. I think that to me, that's a gift. And in my opinion, I think it's a gift. Do you feel it's a gift?
Yes, most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yes, yes, until it becomes challenging, and so we're given some unique challenges. But yes, yes, for sure. It's I especially living in today's world, I don't know where I would be without them. And so that's why I make every attempt that I can to bring them to people by revealing what they have to share, reframing what we're experiencing right now. I'm doing the best I can to bring angels to people when I teach them how to become more intuitive,
Right.
because literally, I want people to have that. If anything, at whatever level, there's some times that we can have, or I have peace when I
Right.
really shouldn't. And then it's okay to be alive and expanded again, because everything is okay when you have that guidance and when you have that love around you, which you do. It's just a matter of
Right.
tuning into it.
Well, let me ask you this, please, so we can help educate our viewers and our listeners as well. Um, help us understand what a channel is and what a channel does, because I've had conversations on my podcast in the past where somebody channels another spirit, somebody channels another entity type thing. And I've had them come on that have channeled angels. So help us understand what a channel is for the new.
Great. Well, it's just our awareness. Our awareness is the portal for that channel. And so when our awareness is open and able to tune in or have found a frequency, sort of like a radio station is a channel. So in the old time radio, when you tune into like 104.3 or 102.7 or whatever, when you tune into a specific frequency, and through our awareness, we're able to tune in. And it's not uncommon in unique situations where, you know, the old classic can't find the car keys, and our dead grandmother, we can hear her in our ears say, "It's behind the refrigerator. How'd they get there?" But there they are.
Yeah.
So once we tune into that frequency, then we can't tune out of it. It's just sort of set. And so what happens, I don't ever do what some channels do where, you know, you repeat what they have to say and your eyes start fluttering. I don't do what people would consider give my body over to them. I
Right.
just hear them speak to me internally, and then I relay what they have to say to
Mhm.
others. So when I do readings, for example, I'll hear things. I'll
Right.
hear, and they'll give me visualizations. And I turn that craft over to them so that I'm helping people that they're healing. And I do that work among many things, even the hypnotherapy with the angels. And so I listen to them. What does this person need? when I speak to on a podcast or to an audience, I go up with a prepared speech, and then they're speaking to me. They make me say something else, and I walk off. I'm buzzing, and I'm like knowing why. And people are like, "Wow." It's like, "Oh." And I said, "Really? Why did you make me write this?" They said, "Oh, so you would get on stage." But they talk to me internally. And so it's that frequency that's inside where I can hear them speak to me and hear them relay very distinct information.
which is great. I mean, we were having some technical issues earlier, and we couldn't figure out a solution. And while we both were off air, I asked my angels to help, and we came up to a solution. So here we are. So it works. I mean, obviously that's just a very simplistic example from that perspective. But I think what you do is an amazing thing because you allow others to get closure, get positive energy, get positive answers, to get something to help them move forward or get away from a negativity, which is really a good thing. What's the difference between a channel and a psychic? And again, this is just to help educate people and understand.
I love doing that. And first of all, let me say one of the most vital uh, skills to possess or personality traits to possess in order to access this is humility. And it's very interesting because, like, for example, we see TV shows where someone is like at the Teppan grill, and all of a sudden, "Oh my God, I see your grandma," that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
what's interesting is humility. So, for in my case, I'll share that when I grew up, I was bullied in school. And now that I review that, I realize that it was meant to actually solidify a sense of humility. And even though it's an incredible skill, there's still there's still a sense of humility about doing this. So when I compare being a psychic, there's many ways of activating that channel of inner knowing. And really, once you actually open up to awareness, there is only a field of oneness or unity there. You and I are the same field of energy, only perceiving ourselves in a different body right now. And one of the things that's happening on this planet right now, even though it appears to be opposite, is that humanity is experiencing the end cycle to that perceived division. So they have to go to
Interesting.
the deep end of the pool and experience the uh, hugest levels of division to realize that we're not divided. However, when we're at that level of awareness, there is only unity. So whether we're communicating with St. Francis or our grandmother who's passed away, Archangel Raphael, or one of our angels, there is only a field of unity. And so
Mm.
a psychic maybe who doesn't work with angels or spirit guides or whatever can also be working with their higher knowing, which is still connected, though,
Right.
in some way to all of that. So it's literally just a matter of how the the person in their craft frames their relationship with the gift.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for helping us to understand that. I believe that the universe is in totality, that we all are connected to the universe. We just have to open ourselves up to being connected to that universe, and that we're all, as human beings, connected, and that we just need to be available for that. And unfortunately, I had to smile when you said about the deep end of the pool because I think we all got just thrown into the deep end of the pool in the last couple of years.
We don't have to swim over there, and that's the cool thing. We get to hold the space for that unity. And we do that when we get into an expansive state.
Mhm.
The angels have revealed to me about how, when we're in a contracted state, then we're just this meat suit. We're a human and we're so limited. But the more that we expand, we are part of that totality, which is why it feels so good in our
Right.
heart. I just mentioning that feeling, we can all relate to it. And then the way that I say it's like that's our real self. Our real self isn't the
Mhm.
person that can go in and out of expansion and contraction. Our real self is that expansion. And our facade
Mm.
self, or the actor that we are in this lifetime, is that contracted self. And so we get to experience going back and forth into each of those and get to be the awareness. But when we get into that expanded state, we get to hold the vision for what's to come. And the only way to have the breakthrough that's coming for the new earth is to have the breakdown that we're in the middle of. Maybe even the
Mm.
beginning of the middle of, or the middle of the beginning of it, or something like
Somewhere
that. So
thereabouts.
there's more to come. Yes. Yes. And so that's why, um, you know, all these things that were taboo to talk about, suddenly everybody's extremely interested in that.
Yeah, it's almost overwhelming. The things that have opened up and the doors that have opened back up again, and things that are coming about from a negative perspective. I mean, my wife and I meditate every day, and we go to bed grateful every night for what we have, and the roof over our head, and the food in our stomach, and for our kids being healthy, and we are grateful every day, and we make sure that we reach out to the universe and to be grateful, because waking up each morning to the news that we see, we've tended to stop doing that. We've kind of turned the news off for a little while, just to kind of get a break from being that way, because we're both very positive individuals. I wasn't always that well, that much. I'm a human being, a meat suit, like you said, and I think I love that. um, it's
Yes.
it. That's just it. Just I have so many things running through my head with that terminology. We watch a show called Resident Alien, and it's got the guy that plays that, Tiddick. I think his name is Tiddick. He's a comedian that is just brilliant at playing that part, and basically that's what he calls it. Everybody meat suits because he's an alien, but he's pretending to be a human, and he's going, I can't believe I'm wearing this meat suit, and I'm having to wear this meat suit to hide in and blend in with you meat suits.
So he shapeshifted or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, and there's a lot of discussion about if there's really people like that in our current world that may be able to have that ability, and why wouldn't there be? Why couldn't there be? It's possible, right?
100%, I agree with you. And that's what makes the show really funny. And I mean, it's one of our favorite shows, because of the realistic aspect of it, and the possibility of it is like, wow, that really could be. Um, I want to go there and talk to him, but we know he's an actor, so it's okay. I still want to talk to him. He's a great actor. But anyway, we kind of got a little waylaid there. Uh, What's it like to channel an angel? I mean, you kind of mentioned, and I've been noticing when you talk about doing that and getting those messages, your eyes, for those of you who are listening to this podcast and not viewing it, your eyes light up and your face lights up and you have a little glow about you and you got a smile, a genuine smile. So it's got to feel good.
Well, like I said, in that expanded state, that's who we truly are. And, you know, I hear feedback, which through humility, I'm going to reveal this. So people will say, oh, I love your energy. Well, I acknowledge that energy is the divine, that great expanse that's just coming through you. And so, what is it like to actually connect with them is to feel connected to that constantly. And it's very interesting, especially when we shift from a difficult situation or a
Mm.
challenge right into the solution. And all of a sudden we realize, wow, there really was no edge of the cliff to begin with.
Right.
And so there is that, like when you go into meditation and all of a sudden you go into that expanse and you remember, wow, I'm infinite. I always have been and I always will be. And then you remember the infinite timeline of creativity that's in front of you and all the possibilities. And then you start just being in that expanse, which is what gratitude is, and then
Mm.
magnified in your meditations. And so that's what it's like, is literally remembering that we're part of something bigger and that there's no boogeyman that can come and get us. You know, there is no, there is no, you know, collusion of people that can
Mm.
take away, what's really real.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's brilliant. Actually, that's very brilliant. Very brilliant. Um, I'm going to backtrack just a moment, because in my notes I had, and I'm not sure where this fits. You said that the bio that you sent me, that 20 years ago during a spiritual awakening, something happened. You had done like reestablished a communication. Was there a break in between all that that caused that reconnection, or having to cause that reconnection?
Well, it's just we want to fit in, don't we? You know,
Always.
when we're kids
Yep.
and
Always.
teenagers. I had a horrible time fitting in. And I think what happens is you just sort of get involved in the world. And I don't want
Mm.
to say get lost. You know, we're at a time in history where kids are revealing their gifts right away, and the type of parents that they have encourage them,
Yeah.
which is great. And when I grew up, that wasn't necessarily that time to hold them when I was in my teens and 20s.
Yeah.
And besides, in my particular case, my life path was to experience the world from that sort of
Right.
3D sense, if you like that terminology, which is got
Hmm.
to go make that money, got to do the best I can, got to experience all of these interesting limitations and experience those limitations. And then also it's like, okay, we're done with that.
And
So
that
you got to go
works.
live life. But you got to have it for a framework, especially, to do this work. Even though I communicate with the angels and have this ability to empower people to overcome obstacles, I have obstacles myself in my own life and live a
Right.
human life, right? And so what's interesting is that that makes us even more relatable as well,
Right.
because in a way, it gives us an interesting insight. I had a conversation with a friend today, and the parameters around, the way things are economically right now, there are some people who are really squeezed.
Yeah.
And I've been that way before. I've had that experience where I've been really squeezed financially. And I can relate to what that's like to feel that way. And I had an opportunity to switch her perspective and help her open up and see some solutions
Right.
that plus also reclaim life and go into that expansive state. But what's interesting is that in between zone, and I don't know why this reminds me of this, but it's almost like when people wonder about those missing years of Jesus. And, you know,
Mm.
did he have to go participate in the world as a human? Could it be so that he could actually relate to the human beings that
That's a
he
good
was?
theory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very good theory.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all go through that. I think those of us. I mean, I grew up in a dysfunctional family. My parents both were alcoholics. I watched them party all the time. My father tried to be a good father, so he wasn't abusive to me or my brother or my sister in any way, other than making my sister smoke a whole pack of cigarettes because she got caught with one, which that was the old days.
Yeah.
So we're going to teach you a lesson. You get to smoke all of
Yeah.
these, and then we'll see whether or not you want to keep doing that. Um, Never get away with that these days. Uh, but he had issues. He had a disease. He had problems. So he died when he was 39 years old, and of cirrhosis of the liver and esophageal cancer. And I haven't, I kind of lost track of him. Not really lost track of him, but I from the age of 15 to the age of 17 when he died, me 15 to 17. I didn't have much contact with him because his brother came and picked him, took him back to Pittsburgh. Um, and the only reason I say this is because it is during that time period, those things define us. And, like you said earlier, you kind of go, okay, well, now I'm the man of the house. Now I have to go get a job. And I went and got a job at 15 years old because I thought I had to contribute to the family to help my mother survive and my brother to eat. And my sister had moved out of the house already. You know what I mean? So it defines you.
Hmm.
You when you get put within certain circumstances and you kind of go, okay, well, this is what life is. I have to go to work. I have to do this. I have to pay these bills. I have to, you know, I can't have any fun. Why? Because I'm working.
Hmm.
And I need to make money. I need to make more money so I can take care of my mom, my brother. It defines you, and you get caught up in that. I think, and as things progress, even when I became a police officer, it was okay. I was a regular cop. street cop. And then I wanted to be a master patrolman. And then I wanted to be a sergeant. I was on my way to take a lieutenant's test before I was kind of sidelined. Got a little angry for a little while, but I understand why now. It took me a long time to understand why. I was put in a position to reinvent my life.
Right.
But I think that the universe puts us where we're supposed to be, and has us reflect back on how life really should be lived.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a benefit in in regard to COVID and everything shutting down and everybody having to work from home. My wife got to work from home for almost 2 years. And we stopped and took a breath and realized we went out. She drives to work. This Phoenix traffic. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you've come down to Phoenix.
Yep.
Um, it is like nuts. I was a traffic cop, okay? I've never seen anything as bad as Phoenix drivers. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
They're
45
worse
minutes.
in California, but anyways,
Oh,
yeah.
it's amazing. 45 minutes an hour to get to work, frustrating, then spend 8 hours at work and then 45 minutes to an hour coming home and exhausted from all of that. She got to get up. We got to go out on the back patio. We got to listen to the birds and watch the trees grow and have a cup of tea and meditate. And the dog came out there with us and it was great. And then we'd stop watching the news. And instead, we were doing that. Then she'd get up, 30-second commute to the front room for her office setup. It was fantastic. And I've had other conversations about this. Who's to say that wasn't the way life was supposed to be? Sure, you got to work. Sure, you have to pay bills. You have to put a roof over your head, to put food in your stomach. But you also got to remember that life is precious and you should enjoy it.
Yes. Well, one of the things that occurred, and I will tell you this, and this is where it's really great to have constant contact with angels, is that in March of 2020, when all of the governors went on and announced all this sort of united shutting everything down strategy, I went home and I could feel the energy. And I asked the angels a few questions. They gave me a few answers. And the first thing they said to me is that do not refer to this as the name that the media is giving it, which is the word that rhymes with mandemic, that starts with a P.
Gotcha.
They said, instead, call this an ascension portal. Because what will happen as a result of this is that people will have their spiritual awakening, and those who are awake will become more awake, and this will accelerate the Great Awakening. This
Mm.
event will accelerate the Great Awakening. And 2 years later, and doing this work, I can honestly tell you that it has, because there's a lot of people who are awake right now, consciously, spiritually, and can see the bigger picture of connectivity, that the earth isn't the limitation of all that there is, that they're conscious beings that are
Mm.
observing themselves as a human on a planet. And the amazing shift in values, even though I worked in the entertainment industry, I have never understood why celebrities are treated like gods. Most of them aren't very
I agree
nice.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
agree with that.
now all of a sudden nobody cares about them anymore. And so their influence, they're losing their influence as it should be, because there's no reason for anyone, just because they happen to get to play a character on a TV show, should have that kind of influence over others, or that people should
Mhm.
give their energy away to that person when they're a sovereign, amazing being that is every bit as amazing as that human being that happens to be labeled a celebrity. And so there's this amazing shift in values. There is a great big group of people who are really seeking unity right now. And there are some that are still playing in the deep end of the pool of division, but the unity is very beautiful and it's full of love. It's full of expansive love. It's amazing
Right.
that's coming in. So we get all of that because of the ascension portal, as the angels call the last 2.5 years, the ascension
That's a
portal.
nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
that's a
it.
nice way. But well, well, look at all the what do they call it? I think like 1.8 or 1.9 million people left their jobs and decided that I don't want to play this game anymore. Life is more important to be able to spend time with my kids, my husband, my wife, my boyfriend, my girlfriend. You know, it was much more important for me to spend time with the people around me and to enjoy those around me than it was to put out that energy by spending an hour driving to work and 8 hours in a little cubicle and listening to everybody else complaining and griping and stuff like that. And then, another hour and a half fighting traffic coming home. They went, there's something more to life. And I appreciate that.
There is that. And then there is also answering our calling. What is our calling? Because our calling is so much more spectacular than being a cog in a great big conglomerate of corporation that someone else
Yeah.
owns. So we have these amazing talents and gifts, and it's not meant to be coordinated in that sense. In fact, we're seeing the limitations of it now because everything became centralized, and now we have food supply issues or all these other things. And we were talked into all of this accumulation, corporation, and all of this because it would make things better. And it actually is gone way the other way than when we had our separate communities and got food from our local farms or
Right.
whatever that was, right?
Yep.
And so also the lack of ultra meaningful nature of really actually having a genuine purpose and a calling of something to do. Now, when all of this stuff is buckling and there's no stability in it, everything's been destabilized. So now there's no reason to stay attached to that because
Right.
before this, people would stay attached to something that didn't suit them just literally because it kept the money flowing
Yeah.
and kept the Ferrari payments going or whatever. And as long as that was going on, then they could stay complacent in that. But now all of a sudden that it's been destabilized and you can't count on that kind of thing, now everybody wants to trade what was stability and really isn't there and never was for actually having their heart full of being in alignment with their calling. And for a lot of people right now, and this is to speak to your audience as well, a lot of them are still actually putting the puzzle pieces together of what that
Yeah.
is. I know I can't go back to work here because either my job isn't there anymore or I can't do what I was doing before. And now I know I'm supposed to do this. I don't know where it's meant to, provide for me or support me. But every day I get more ideas, and a lot of people are still answering their calling, despite the fact that it's challenging financial to make it. But there are people
Yeah.
who are going to their office jobs every day, and they're having challenges financially too. But the only thing is, maybe they're not don't have that actual full heart and expansiveness from actually getting to hear some sort of guidance from their heart and being able to do something that really actually gives them passion and inspiration to actually
And
feel fully alive.
and purpose.
Purpose.
We all want purpose in life, and
Right.
a purpose, in my opinion, purpose drives us. We want to be a good
Yeah.
father. We want to be a good husband, a boyfriend, girlfriend. We want to be, a good child. We want to be a good son, a good daughter, kind of a thing, or a great uncle like you and I.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
um, but it's interesting because I was going to ask you about challenges that we have and why it's important in alignment, and it kind of you just fell right into that. So that answered those. I appreciate that part of the conversation because
Yeah.
I think we all look for alignment. I think we all look for what's next, what's down the road. And I know that we need to trust our intuition, and we need to trust ourselves in knowing that we're on a particular path, don't we?
For sure. And there's a very big part of this that's powerful in surrender. So one of the stages that we're in this collective journey, which impacts us personally, is that we're in the state of surrender, which actually alleviates resistance. And resistance
Mm.
is sort of that added drag coefficient of moving very quickly through this next piece. It really is. And so there is this bit of surrender that is in accumulation or in expansion right now that's actually connecting us to that greater power that wants to create with us and through us. And so that expansion or that surrender and then that expansion is all part of having our minds or the limiting mind get out of the way. Because with two
Mm.
layers, we have our mind, our human mind, and then we have
Right.
our awareness, right? And awareness is definitely more powerful of the two. And the mind is constantly trying to actually hook us back into its limitations, and we don't want to be there anymore. So there's a couple things that are going on. One is that there is this massive release going on of any of the, let's say, stored energy from past traumas. There's a lot of that that's moving on where people are reframing their past so that they can actually alleviate some of the resistance to moving into reframing life in a different way. And you're seeing it happen all around you. People are tapping, for example, EFT tapping
Hmm.
to tap out any of the old stuff. But what's really happening is that any of those limitations that are stored in us somewhere, our subconscious or our body, are begging us to be released right now because the new vibration that we're moving into is so amazing that that would anchor us back down into lower dimensions. And so
Mm.
we're being freed from those lower dimensions, but somehow or another, innately, we're all getting the same memo at the same time, which is moving into this surrender and release mode right now. And and
Mm.
we can, if we want, watch the events unfold in the world and in our personal lives. And when we get into that act of surrender, that's when we allow all these amazing miracles to show up on every level.
I
And
agree with that. That's amazing.
yeah, it's happening all over. And I provoke a lot of deep discussion with people. I don't ever find myself in a group discussion about, what's the latest football team is doing or whatever. But I end up like uh, always walking into or creating expansive conversations. So I really get to actually get the pulse on what's going on and what people are feeling. And of course, those kind of people that want that deep discussion seek me
Mm.
out as well, right?
Well, that's
And
the universe talking to
yeah,
us.
yeah. Well, we live at a different level. I mean, and by the way, we have two Earths going on. So we're watching one, the one that we're being horrified by, and we're living in the other. Just notice how amazing and buffered we are from the consequences. And seeing events is not a consequence. Seeing events is learning from those things. And the
Mm.
other thing that I can say to your audience as well that might create an amazing shift for them is that a lot of people over the last, let's say, 10 years were driven to go do certain things, whatever that was. Like for me, it was going to filmmaking and acting and all that. And then it didn't quite go where I thought it was going to go. And then it's a shift, and then another shift. I was selling cars for a little bit, and then a shift, and now I'm doing this work. And so a lot of people are in this sort of phase where they're answering their calling, but they're weighted down from a memory of all these other amazing paths that they took that didn't seem to go all the way where they thought it was supposed to go.
Yeah, that
And
hits home.
so, yeah, right, with a lot of people it will. And what I want to share with your audience about that, which is an insight that the angels gave me about that, that can really be relieving. They said, well, yeah, maybe you didn't, get cast as uh, a regular character on a sitcom or anything like that. You did all these things, but the one thing that you did was the one thing that you were assigned to do while you were in Earth, which was to awaken consciously and expand. And so all of
Mm.
these things have done that. And since we live in a world that is not only temporary, but it's an actual illusion, it doesn't matter what we accomplish. If we make lieutenant or whatever, you know, they have all kinds of titles in the corporate world that are really funny
Yeah.
because they all have like letters, which is the TRP representative or whatever the SSC reports or whatever these things are, whatever. So we didn't make it to that, but we were sent here by choice to actually go through this experience of expansion so that we can become creators ourselves. And if we've
Mm.
accomplished that, then we actually really accomplished our mission, because it may or may not have been, you know, a star on a TV show. It may or may not have been, that airline pilot's position that you wanted. You don't know what it was or wasn't. But as long as you were expanding and you got into this great relationship with all that is
Right.
and started expanding and letting it live through you, then the next level that comes after that is going to be really fun. And a lot of it will take place here.
Well, and it's brilliant conversation, by the way. The everything as you said really hits home, and I think it hits home, like you said, with a lot of people. And there are people around me, people within my life, in my own personal life, that have gone through exactly what you're just saying, just to validate what you're
Hmm.
telling
Yeah.
everybody. I'm still in the process of some of that myself,
Hmm.
but I'm aware of it, and before I wasn't aware of
Yeah.
it, which is a good thing because that allows somebody to kind of work through and realize that maybe this was. I had a great time as a cop. And it sounds bizarre to put it that way. I enjoyed my job. I was a good cop. I caught bad guys when I was supposed to catch the bad guys, put a lot of bad guys away. But I also was a community cop, so I took walkabouts. I'd park my car and I'd go in and I'd go in the shops and I'd talk to the shop owners and I'd talk to
Mm.
people on the street. I'd sit on a bench. I communicated with people. I was a good cop. But maybe that wasn't what I was supposed to be meant to do. And it took me a long time to really reevaluate that and figure out a new purpose in my life, which brought me to where I'm at right now, where I get to have conversations with people like you and share that message with the world and give people hope and inspiration and give them motivation and give them education, give them an opportunity to move forward in their life or overcome things that they thought they were stuck in, which I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that we connected. I'm grateful that
Yes.
you came on my show. And
Yeah.
I think that that's a miracle within itself. I know you talk about miracle in some of the things that I've read, some of the things I've heard you on. You talk about miracles. To me,
Hmm.
that's a miracle. I think each and every day like that is a miracle. How do we, um, I guess, I guess I've got two questions. How do we hone our intuition so that we learn to understand and open up to listen and see what is there for us coming from the angels that would help us, forward.
Right. So, so you want to know how to uh, hone intuition and how to communicate with the angels?
Well, like how do we? Now, here's the thing, and I want to make sure that I kind of we can express this correctly to everybody. I told you that I have conversations with my angels all the time.
Right. Hmm.
I don't necessarily hear anything verbally back, but they answer me in different ways. So
Right.
I ask them to help this or help that, and we get the help.
Yeah.
I'm great. Then when we get that help, we find something we're looking for. If I have a disease. I have an autoimmune disease, and there are days I have a flare. There are days that I'm in pain, in unimaginable pain. Some days where I can barely move. I ask my angels for help. I get that. So, from that perspective, I know that they're listening. So, I, I want to help others understand how to hone their intuition and recognize when the angels are talking to them and how to listen.
Right. Yes. Well, the portal to being able to communicate with our angels and to open up our intuition is peace. And
Mm,
sometimes we just have to choose peace. And what peace really is, and it's easier to achieve than we think if we have the right tools. So, again, this takes us back to the two levels of awareness. And the two levels of awareness are believed to be compartmentalized in the two hemispheres of the mind. We have the right
mm,
and the left mind. Our optimum state is when the two are in cohesion and they're connected with each other. So if you notice, if someone speaks from intuition, they'll often put their fingers together like this, which
Oh,
actually
interesting.
forges a connection of right and left brain. Listening to binaural beats in your earphones, that will cause your left and right hemispheres to actually forge a connection. So will your meditation process, your breath work, your yoga, whatever. That's why you feel so good. You feel so
Mm.
good because your left brain, your logical mind, just surrendered to awareness. And the first thing is to realize that we have two levels, that we have two distinct levels of basically what's going inside between our mind and our awareness. And we realize that because when we're not feeling so good, it means that the mind has sort of disconnected from awareness and it's running the show. And it's like this monkey that's in this cage with these bananas and it's throwing it at the window and it's throwing all kinds of things. That's why we call it the monkey mind. And so the quick and easy way to find that peace again is to bring awareness back into the equation. And let me tell you something, there is no external circumstance that can outwit awareness in bringing peace. That was the
Interesting.
beauty of that movie, It's a Beautiful Life, because you had someone in a concentration camp, which is almost the
Mhm.
worst situation that you could possibly imagine, but still had the ability to access awareness and make people laugh, right? So we always have that. There is no external situation that can outwit awareness taking us back into peace. And once we're in peace and we're in that expanded state, another exercise I give people that helps them is I ask them to basically trace their focus from their left brain all the way to their heart. And when we actually put our fingers on our heart, or even we all can conduct healing energy out of the palm of our hands. We can actually send ourselves healing energy by pointing our palm at our heart. And once we do that, suddenly, without any other provocation, we start to expand. And when we become
Mm.
aware of that expansion, allow it to expand some more. And from that, let what shows up through stream of consciousness show up because there's a bandwidth that we have access to. It's a very narrow bandwidth when we're in our logical human brain, but it's a very wide bandwidth when we're in awareness, which is why, for example, when we're in the shower, the water and the relaxation takes us into the brainwave state where we're in an
Right.
expansive state. That's why all those ideas come through the shower. So when we do an actual practice to continue to, because if we're left to the default of just taking our shower and having our meditation, then going out in the world, which takes us out of that state,
Right.
we just have to consciously go into that state more often. And once we do that, we can connect with our angels and spirit guides. We can connect with our intuition, just become aware of what we're aware of. And the more we spend time with that, the more incredible that becomes.
Mm.
So when the angels first came to me, I could hear them, but then it started to get really specific. They told me one day when I came home from an open house, go to Disneyland, which was about 20 minutes from my house at the time in Orange County. And I got there and I found a woman who was stranded on the side of the road with her two little boys that I was able to help. Well, something already knew that they were going to need help and sent me 20 minutes of driving just to go there without knowing what I was going through there. But I could hear them tell me to do that through an urge and an impulse. And it just,
Mm.
the more we do it and the more we see the feedback from it that comes back to us in our reality, the easier it becomes to expand some more with them. And that's how we could do it. The first thing is to actually just find that expanded state and just start listening. And after we start listening, what we know at that expanded level of being, we already know it. And then it teaches us from there.
And recognize when the angels are talking to them and how to listen.
Great. Yes. Well, the portal to being able to communicate with our angels and to open up our intuition is peace. And
Mm.
sometimes we just have to choose peace. And what peace really is, and it's easier to achieve than we think if we have the right tools. So, again, this takes us back to the two levels of awareness. And the two levels of awareness are believed to be compartmentalized in the two hemispheres of the mind. We have the right
Mm.
and the left mind. Our optimum state is when the two are in cohesion and they're connected with each other. So if you notice, if someone speaks from intuition, they'll often put their fingers together like this, which
Oh,
actually
interesting.
forges a connection of right and left brain. Listening to binaural beats in your earphones, that will cause your left and right hemispheres to actually forge a connection. So will your meditation process, your breath work, your yoga, whatever. That's why you feel so good. You feel so
Mm.
good because your left brain, your logical mind, just surrendered to awareness. And the first thing is to realize that we have two levels, that we have two distinct levels of basically what's going inside between our mind and our awareness. And we realize that because when we're not feeling so good, it means that the mind has sort of disconnected from awareness and it's running the show. And it's
Mm.
like this monkey that's in this cage with these bananas and it's throwing it at the window and it's throwing all kinds of things. That's why we call it the monkey mind. And so the quick and easy way to find that peace again is to bring awareness back into the equation. And let me tell you something, there is no external circumstance that can outwit awareness in bringing peace. That was the
Interesting.
beauty of that movie, It's a Beautiful Life, because you had someone in a concentration camp, which is almost the
Mm.
worst situation that you could possibly imagine, but still had the ability to access awareness and make people laugh, right? So we always have that. There is no external situation that can outwit awareness taking us back into peace. And once we're in peace and we're in that expanded state, another exercise I give people that helps them is I ask them to basically trace their focus from their left brain all the way to their heart. And when we actually put our fingers on our heart, or even we all can conduct healing energy out of the palm of our hands. We can actually send ourselves healing energy by pointing our palm at our heart. And once we do that, suddenly, without any other provocation, we start to expand. And when we become
Mm.
aware of that expansion, allow it to expand some more. And from that, let what shows up through stream of consciousness show up because there's a bandwidth that we have access to. It's a very narrow bandwidth when we're in our logical human brain, but it's a very wide bandwidth when we're in awareness, which is why, for example, when we're in the shower, the water and the relaxation takes us into the brainwave state where we're in an
Right.
expansive state. That's why all those ideas come through the shower. So when we do an actual practice to continue to, because if we're left to the default of just taking our shower and having our meditation, then going out in the world, which takes us out of that state,
Right.
we just have to consciously go into that state more often. And once we do that, we can connect with our angels and spirit guides. We can connect with our intuition, just become aware of what we're aware of. And the more we spend time with that, the more incredible that becomes.
Mm.
So when the angels first came to me, I could hear them, but then it started to get really specific. They told me one day when I came home from an open house, go to Disneyland, which was about 20 minutes from my house at the time in Orange County. And I got there and I found a woman who was stranded on the side of the road with her two little boys that I was able to help. Well, something already knew that they were going to need help and sent me 20 minutes of driving just to go there without knowing what I was going through there. But I could hear them tell me to do that through an urge and an impulse. And it just,
Mm.
the more we do it and the more we see the feedback from it that comes back to us in our reality, the easier it becomes to expand some more with them. And that's how we could do it. The first thing is to actually just find that expanded state and just start listening. And after we start listening, what we know at that expanded level of being, we already know it. And then it teaches us from there.
That's amazing. What an amazing lesson. Thank you. I think that that would take people to a new level. Maybe take somebody that's stuck at a level up a level. Yeah, that's an amazing opportunity to really connect with the universe and connect with our angels because they're there.
It's the
And
same key that we use to actually lift other people up. When someone is stuck in their head or their mind or their problem, we give them a hug, we love them, we let them know that they've got it. We somehow or another make them laugh, and suddenly they're lifted up. And some of us do that without even
yeah,
realizing it. That's how we lift other people up. The trick is lifting ourselves up in that same way.
yeah,
And that's where we get greater and greater access to this, where we're able to do this more and more, is because we are literally just able to do for others the way that we're able to do for ourselves the same that we can do for
do for
others.
others.
We do it innately, but it's harder for us to do it for ourselves because our mind, I call it the hijacker, it comes in and goes, I gotcha.
Well, cops, firefighters, EMTs, doctors, nurses, we were indoctrinated to take care of everybody else. That was our job. That's what we did. We loved our jobs. That's what we did. You always take care of them. Even if we were hurt, even if we were exhausted, even though we were tired, it was always put that way. We as that collective, it was very difficult to say, wait, I need to stop and take care of myself. I have to stop myself and take a breath. I need to refresh myself and move myself up a little bit before I can help you again. And I think caretakers fall into that category too, because when you start taking care of somebody like a dementia patient, or we took care of my wife's father who had Lewy body dementia for 18 months, and you get into that mode where you forget to take care of yourself because you're too busy taking care of everybody else.
Well, and that also goes into the aspect of realizing that if there's two different levels of our mind, awareness, and our human brain, then there's two different levels of us. There is our infinite being in our meat suit,
Right?
as we had mentioned before. So technically, it's the same person that's taking care of us. Because when we go love someone or take care of them, it's our awareness that kicks in and uses our body to do that. And when we do it for ourselves through self care, it is our awareness that just does it for us and uses our body to do that for us, whatever that might be. And
It's amazing.
it's so powerful to actually get into enjoying life, because that is one of the weird indoctrinations in this matrix, is that you need to work and make money and then leave it behind. You're not supposed to have an experience. You're not supposed to stop and love an experience. You're supposed to actually do this
Yep.
thing. And it's like, no. And that's one of the things that's being kicked out of the program now,
Which
which is how we ascend to the new earth, because that very, um, that very uh, destructive Trojan horse virus that's been in humanity's programming about working to make money, got to work, work, work. I mean, imagine that we've worked, and I've done this before, where you work 60 hours a week and you actually deprive yourself of living life in the moment.
yep,
And people die with millions of dollars in the bank and having given up their life. And they're like, guess which one they would rather have? And
exactly.
yeah. And so we're moving into this place where life and living it in the moment is actually the prime directive over the other one, which was the prime directive before. And this ascension portal, as the angels call it, has been great at actually helping us shift those values and now making life count.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's everybody. All the corporations kept going. Let's get back to normal. Back to normal. Back to normal. What's to say what we are experiencing when we had this opportunity to spend more time together? sit on the back patio every morning and talk to the birds and the trees and the birds
Hmm.
and the bees. You know,
Right.
what's to say that's not normal?
Well,
So
and
yeah, I agree with you. That's
that's the vision of the new earth that the angels have given to me. Because, you know, there is no such thing as lack and scarcity, but the system that we live in creates artificial lack and scarcity, which is a whole different conversation, which we
right.
won't get into. But the lack and scarcity that we experience in our mind is pure illusion. This earth has the ability to provide for its inhabitants. If we were to use a different system to distribute all of the resources that the planet has,
Mm.
nobody would live in poverty. And that's the new earth, is that there's a new system that's coming that will circumvent the one that's in place, because that one is collapsing. And as that happens, then the world's resources will be shared among its inhabitants a lot more fairly and equally. And from that will be this place where there will be more abundance. And guess what? You won't have to work 60 hours a week. Now people are working 60 hours a week just to be able to fill up their gas tank.
Yeah, it's
Before, if you
ridiculous.
worked 60 hours a week, it was so that you could save a little extra money to buy an expensive home or something like that. Now you don't even get that out of it, right?
It's unfortunate.
So right. So what happens when you're talking about framing that moment where we were able to take a pause and actually rejoin the living of life, the actual living of life, that is the main frame. That is the default setting. And so, yes, that is the normal that will come in the new earth. And it took us actually getting to experience it to have a frame of reference.
That's amazing. Well, I'm hoping to still be here when the new Earth
You
evolves
will
into
be.
what it's supposed to be.
You will be.
We will be. When we
You will
get done
be.
here, I'll have to tell you something.
No, I mean,
uh,
the angels are telling me to tell you that you will be.
I am
You are,
grateful for that.
yeah, you will be. You absolutely will be. Because in the new earth as well, we live at unprecedented levels of health because we're only beginning to access the power of our
Mm.
mind on our body and the origination point of energy as it comes through this hologram, shall we say. And so it's not about stuffing chemicals in our mouth to be healthy. It's about accessing this wave of energy. And that's what we will become, is healthy as a result of our
Mm.
non-stop connectivity to the source that created life. And that will also circumvent that old system of actual sick care. And that's going to come because we will access our natural state. And from that, yes, you will be here to experience the new earth in that state of being.
Well,
Yes.
I'm grateful for that. I got a head
Yeah.
start. I don't do anything. I do no drugs for my body. I walked out of a wheelchair when I've had well, I've had 8 operations. If you count both eyes cataract surgery, but prior to that, I've got 2 knee replacements, a hip replacement, 2 shoulder replacements, an ankle, and my foot worked on. And I was told I wouldn't walk anymore. And I worked my way out of that. And I really, really believe what you just said. I think that our mind, our body, and our soul can connect together in order for us to heal and move forward. And I think that we have the power to do that. Sometimes we get a little waylaid, but I'm glad that you said that. I'm grateful for that
Well,
message. I'm grateful
what
for
you
that
just
message.
what you just said is that you have already used the new earth's medical system, healing system. You've already used it, which was consciousness, through your willpower and through the belief that you would get out of that wheelchair. You accessed that portal of energy to actually heal already. That is the same exact portal that we will be constantly accessing for physical well being in the new earth that is coming soon.
See, that makes me feel good. I mean, that really
Hmm.
makes me, right from my heart, it makes me feel good.
Yes.
It really does. Talking about access, how does somebody find you?
Talktomyangels.com. Talktomyangels.com. I'm on Instagram at talktomyangels. I'm not a big Instagrammer, But I am on there and can communicate with you. And yeah,
And you have two podcasts. We mentioned a little bit ago, you have two
yeah,
podcasts.
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about each one of the podcasts.
Sure. Well, Talk to My Angels is my podcast that is about sharing the angels' message about the new earth, how they came to me, how we can connect with them, different aspects of what they've shared with me. That's all about moving us into imagining a new earth experience. And Earth Angels International is about actually interviewing other people, other conscious luminaries who have a message for humanity, who want to share their message with humanity so that humanity can raise their consciousness as well and to begin to access the power within. Because everybody has a message and a story, and their message and story is all part of the piece of the puzzle. And each of us has an opportunity to lift the entire world up when we tell our stories in unity.
Well, I will tell my audience that they're both brilliant podcasts. I've started listening to both of them myself. And yes, well done. I think that you're making a huge positive contribution to
Thank
this
you.
world and this universe and the podcast environment. You absolutely belong in that realm right there. So thank you for doing both of
Thank
those.
you. What an absolute pleasure to meet you today. Thank you.
Yeah, same to you. I will make sure that all of those things are all the ways to get a hold of you. Let me speak in correct English here. I will make sure that there are links put into the show notes for connecting with you on your website as well as to both of your podcasts. I know that
Thank
you've
you.
got ways of connecting with you to get tarot readings and some other readings and some other help. So those can all be found on your website, and I'll make sure that that's all put into place where it needs to be.
Thank you.
This is one more thing before you go. So one more thing before we go. Do you have any words of wisdom? I mean, you've spared an immense amount of wisdom, but anything in particular you want to pinpoint?
When you ask that question, I ask the angels what they want the audience to know. And they want the audience to know that this is an amazing time to see what's possible. And they want to just be there to send their loving energy to each person in the audience. So just open up your heart and receive that, because it will transcend time and space, so that when you're listening to this, you'll receive this message. And when you do, and you feel connected to their love, then from that place, you can do everything and you can rise above the difficulty and challenge. You'll still have some challenges, but you'll find miraculous power to do that. And they say, just get ready to see miracles, not only in your personal life, but in the global situation as well. Get ready for miracles.
Brilliant words of wisdom. Thank you, angels. And thank you, Seph. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for being on this show. Thank you for sharing your journey, your wisdom, and your experiences with us. And I look forward to another conversation down the road.
Thanks for listening to this episode of One More Thing Before You Go, a unique conversation about life. If you like our show and want to know more, check out our website at beforeyougopodcast.com. You can find us as well as subscribe to the program and rate us on your favorite podcast listening platform. One More Thing Before You Go, a unique conversation about life podcast, is a creation of One More Thing Productions, established 2010, all rights reserved.